You're listening to the Find Your Voice NYC podcast. Let's jump right in. Thank you so much for tuning in today, for streaming, for subscribing, downloading, however you're listening. I am excited that you are here, and I'm excited to be back sharing this time with you. So let's jump right in. You can't uncook a stew. In the spirit of Mother's Day, and happy belated Mother's Day, American Mother's Day, that is, to all of the people listening. Mothers, I know you are really going through some interesting times right now. I see you in the Zoom meetings. I've had coaching sessions with some of you with your children bouncing up and down in the background. It's all good. You are holding it down. You are making it happen. And the world is a wonderful place because of you. So I just could not go forward without first thanking moms and wishing them a happy Mother's Day and saying just stay you, stay beautiful, and thank you. Thank you for all that you do. Yeah, you're again some of those unsung heroes, I believe, that we should really make sure that we are appreciating during these difficult times. But in the spirit of that, you can't uncook a stew. This is a phrase that I was taught by my grandmother and reinforced by my mother. And I didn't understand it at that time. It actually happened because I was, in the kitchen with my grandmother, and she was making a stew, and she tasted it, and she said, it's too salty. I don't like this. And I said to her, well, why don't you just change it or something? I forgot what my 5 or 6 year old mind said to her. And she said to me, baby, you can't uncook a stew. The only thing you can do is remember the recipe you used to make it and then change the recipe next time. And at 5 years old, we were talking about stew. But fast forward to, 40 some odd years later, I'm sitting in a coaching session with a client of mine, and that phrase came to me so crystal clear because my client kept talking about, I should have this, I didn't that, because I didn't do this, I'm not that, I can't be this. And I just said to her, sis, you can't uncook a stew. And it was like this moment of clarity. I think for her, for me, for the entire situation, we spend so much time focusing on the coulda, shoulda, didn't, have to, need to, all of this kind of stuff. When the stew is ready, the stew is ready. Now, if you choose to put that stew in a bowl and sop it up, that's your choice. But the stew is done. If you don't like the stew that you made, then guess what? It's okay. You don't have to eat it. You don't have to serve it. Nobody has to even know you made it, right? You could take that stew and throw it away. That's your choice. But what you can't do is uncook the stew. And by denying the fact that the stew was made in the first place, i.e. not living your truth and acknowledging all of who you are, your experiences, good, bad, and indifferent, you're actually cheating yourself from the lesson. So there's a couple of things I'd like to touch upon today during this podcast. And the first thing is, don't try, be. One of the things I get into coaching so often, and that's like all types of coaching, this is across the board, my life coach clients, my VO clients, they all use this phrase, well, Tomas, I'm trying to. And I say, my response is almost always the same. I'm going to go ahead on and stop you right there because that's the problem. You're trying. Well, what am I supposed to do? Be. Just be. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Don't stress over it. Just do it. Just be, right? Be that thing. Live in that space. Acknowledge that, right? If you say that you're a singer, and this is the example we'll use time and time again throughout this podcast. If you say that you're a singer, don't say you're trying to be a singer. A singer does not try to be a singer. A singer sings, which in fact makes the singer a singer. And that's just that. Now, I didn't say the person was a good singer. I didn't say the person was a successful singer. I said the person is a singer, right? But we have these preconceived notions of what a singer is. And if that singer doesn't have a Grammy or isn't performing on worldwide stages or blah, 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 then that person is not a singer. Well, a singer is a singer. An entertainer is a singer or actor or whatever that is at a certain level in the industry and has thus achieved the title of entertainer. But a singer is, quite frankly, just a singer. And that, in and of itself, is enough. So if you're a singer, sing. Don't try to sing. Don't worry about not having a fan base. Don't worry about your IG followers. Just sing. Just be. Separate the quality of being from the state of being. And to that point about the singer, if you're not a successful singer, it doesn't mean you're any less of a singer. If you've done the work to become a singer, if you practice, if you do the things you need to do to qualify as a singer, i.e., you sing, then you are in fact a singer. Being a successful singer is not the same as being a singer. And we often think of who we are in terms of how we're qualified, i.e., how many people like us, how many people support us, how many people follow us, how many people are buying our music, how many people are coming to the show. You could have one person in your audience, and that one person can be your mom. You're still a singer. You could have thousands and thousands of people in your audience, and guess what? You may not be a singer. So let's move away from the quality of being and get into the state of being. What are you being? What are you doing? Not how is it qualified, and more importantly, who is doing that qualification? Because 9 out of 10 times we are letting other people qualify us, which means we will never be what we say we are, because other people's qualifications will always detract from our own state of being. We have to keep that in mind. Next. Stop living in the past. Get about your feelings. Stop living in the past. Okay, so the marriage didn't work out. All right. Okay, so the record deal fell through. Okay, so you didn't get the job you wanted. Okay, so your grades aren't good enough to qualify you for law school. Okay, so the stew is done. You didn't get the grades to qualify for law school. Does that mean you no longer want to be a lawyer? Or does that mean you want to do what you need to do in order to get where you need to be? The marriage fell apart. Okay, so does that mean you want to work to secure this marriage? Or does it mean that what's done is done, you've learned your lesson, and you will take that into your next relationship? Okay, you didn't get the record deal. So you're not signed to this record label. Does that mean that you're not a singer? Or does that mean that you keep working, if that's what you want, to have a record deal? You keep working until you get what you want. Or do you do like so many of us do and sit down someplace and just crawl up into your feelings, folded up in them? Right? Like a piece of paper that's been folded to the point where it can't be folded anymore. And just sit there and say, I can't. I didn't. I could have, but it didn't happen, and da 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 da, right? We all do it. I'm guilty of it myself sometimes. I just have the mechanisms to be able to say, look what you're doing. Okay. You can't change how you feel because your feelings are your feelings. So crawl up in your feelings for the next foreseeable future, because I don't know when this is going to end, but understand that you have the skill set and the wherewithal to make the change if that's what you want to do. Number 4, many ingredients make up the stew. Can we just rest in this place for a minute? Why do we always think that we have this goal that we want to accomplish or achieve, and that in order to get this goal, we can sit down and just do it with one fair swoop? And if we don't do it in one fair swoop, then it's not a goal for us. Oh, we're not going to do it because we couldn't achieve it. It's too hard. I don't have the skill set. I don't have the resources, blah, blah, blah. Maybe some of that is true. But if you sit down there and say, I'm going to record and drop a successful album this weekend, how are you going to do that? What are the goals leading up to that goal? Oh, you know what, I'm going to say it because I'm a life coach. What are the SMART goals that make that goal happen? And oftentimes people will come to me and they will say, Tomas, I want you to help me build a business. Well, what kind of business? I want something that's going to really just, speak to my entrepreneurial spirit. Okay, that's cool. So the first thing we need to do is some exploration, because we're not at a building stage. Yes, but I want to have this business built in the next 6 months. Well, you're giving yourself a time frame to build something when you don't know what that something is you want to build. You cannot build a structure without schematics. So pull back, get rid of this time frame, this arbitrary time frame that you've given yourself to be successful, and understand that success began the minute you made a commitment to build the business. And all you're doing now is growing your success exponentially. That's all you're doing right now. Right? Again, we have this understanding of recognition equaling reward. Recognition is the gravy on the grits, but baby, you got to have the grits first, or else the gravy is just gravy in a bowl. And who wants that? No one. Not where I come from, not from my part of town. If you are making this stew, you got to put your meats in there. You got to put your base in there. If you're doing like a rice or a noodle, however you're building your stew and getting it together, your celery, tomato, carrots, I could go on because I love a good stew. But the point is, there are many, many ingredients to do that. And let's just go to the celery. If we're putting celery in this stew, we don't just take the celery like bam, boom, there it is. We got to buy the celery, or if we grow the celery, we got to go get it from our backyard, from our indoor garden, wherever we're growing the celery. We got to then wash it. We got to take and cut it up into pieces. Then we have to put it in the stew. There's at least 3 or 4 steps that have to happen before that happens. But we always focus on the stew, the product, without enjoying the process of getting that celery, cutting it up, and then putting it in there. And that's the part we need to really focus on in order to be successful. The last thing we'll address today is, if you can't do it yourself, ask for help. Get yourself a coach. Get yourself someone who's going to support you. Build your tribe. Get yourself a friend. Be a part of a group that is seeking similar goals. Align yourself